Welcome to Let's Make Millions. We're at the You're on Mute Studios here in Santa Monica. I'm Rob Medved, CEO of Canella Media, here with my managing partner, Bill Raymond. This was a moving podcast that we had here.
It was the story that was told and just what he went through and what has come out of it is remarkable.
Yeah. So today we just got done talking to Kyle Kraska. And if you're in Southern California, he's the king of sports. He's on Fox. He's a consummate professional in the sports field, broadcaster, radio personality. We've done some commercial work with him. He's done some shows for us. 6-time Emmy Award winner, 4-time award winner for Golden Mike. But he has a deeper story than just being a successful broadcaster.
And he's a good guy.
And he's a great guy. He was shot 6 times, left for dead, bled out, coma. And his story surrounding that is moving. It's incredible. He gets really raw and vulnerable on it here today on the show. And out of it, he has done some really good things as a supporter of the American Red Cross.
Yeah, and us as a company, we're gonna carry that on with him going into this next year, and we're gonna have our own blood drive and support Kyle's blood drive and see how large we can get it and get more people to join in for a great cause.
Yeah, part of Let's Make Millions. We also have Let's Give Millions, and in this case, we're going to get people to give something more than money, give actual pieces of themselves in the form of blood. And so when you give blood, you are saving lives, you're helping people, and they're running out of blood every 6 weeks or so. That bank needs replenishing because it doesn't last forever. So donate to the American Red Cross through giving your blood, and stay tuned to hear the story of Kyle Kraska. It's amazing.
Get up on your feet, this is a shakedown, and you can rock and roll with an attitude. So good, so fresh, just the way you like it.
Welcome to this episode of Let's Make Millions. We're here, beautiful Santa Monica, and it's a nice day out. It's been cold here recently, but today I think it's picking up a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's around like 68 degrees and nice and sunny today.
Yeah.
Nice fall day.
We're in the You're on Mute Studios, and today we welcome Kyle Kraska, who is a radio and a broadcast personality. You've been doing sports for the better part of 25 years, right?
A little more than that, but I don't like to admit that very often. Yeah.
6-time Emmy Award winner, 4-time Golden Mike. If you're in Southern California, you know who he is. Rock star. We've had him in studio here doing some radio stuff for us because, as you'll hear, he has an incredible voice. And so welcome.
Thanks, Rob. Bill, great to see you guys
you
again.
Thanks for coming in.
Same to you. So you are just back from Paris.
I was spending a week in Paris, and I got married.
You did.
Last Tuesday, I got married in Paris to my lovely wife, Samina. We had a magical week. The weather was great. It was just literally like living in a dream for an entire week. So I tell people it's great to be back, but it was really hard to leave Paris.
Yeah, I bet. Well, we do have a little bottle of bubbly here.
Oh, look at this! What a
lovely
nice
wife,
surprise.
Samina.
Thank you. That's
And
very, very kind of you.
Congrats on your nuptials.
We
That's
will
great.
think of you kindly as we drink this. Thank you so
Excellent.
much.
Well, we're gonna get into we're gonna unpack a couple things here. One is we want to understand your story of how you got into broadcasting. Sure. You've had a lot of success in that realm, but you have a deeper story, a meaningful part of your life, something that occurred to you that was tragic in some ways, and it changed your life in so many ways. And as part of Let's Make Millions, we also have a facet called Let's Give Millions, and we like to support charitable events and purposes that have causes that have purpose for our guests, and we're going to mesh that together today because your experience has led to you championing a cause for the American Red Cross.
That's right.
That is incredible. Your story is incredible, and we want to hear it. But we'll get to that in a little bit. let's start with your story, and let's go back. How did you get into the broadcast field? Did you start there, or were you a construction guy before that, or something? Or?
Where did you grow up? Let's start like way back.
Well, I started on the East Coast. I grew up in Massachusetts, and I went to school at Syracuse University. And what a lot of people don't know is I actually went to school to be a computer science and mathematics major. That's why I went to Syracuse. Okay? So I was beginning that curriculum, went through my freshman year, and then at one point during my sophomore year, I just realized that I loved doing it. I loved computers and math, and it was always a passion of mine when I was a kid. But I realized I didn't really want to do this for a living. I didn't want to do it for the rest of my life. I just think my personality was suited to maybe something different. I wasn't exactly sure what that was, but it's kind of funny since we were talking about Paris and all that. I was taking a French class in college, just an elective, because the curriculum in computer science was so taxing. And I spoke a little French when I was a young boy because my mom is French. And so I took an elective that I thought would kind of be a blow-off. So I went into this class one day, and I was sitting next to a friend that I knew, and I was telling her, I'm at a crossroads in my life. I don't know what I want to do. I don't think it's computers. And in an instant, she looked at me, and she said, I know exactly what you should do. I said, what's that? She said, you should be a sportscaster. And I was shocked by what she said. I said, I never even thought about that. Why would you say that? She says, well, you play every sport. That's all you ever talk about. You know more about sports than anyone I know. And oh, by the way, you happen to be here at Syracuse University, the #1 sports broadcasting school in the country. Why aren't you there already?
And you didn't end up there with any intention of going into...
Zero.
Did you even know that it was the #1 broadcasting?
I knew of the history of it. I knew Bob Costas had gone to Syracuse and a number of other great broadcasters through the years. I won't name them all, but it's vast. The list is rather vast. And so the very next day, the light bulb went on, and I went across the street and started asking some questions. I scheduled a meeting with the dean, and all of a sudden, like something I never thought of in my life suddenly made a lot of sense.
Were you always comfortable in front of the camera?
No.
No.
In fact, the funny part of the story is that I wasn't sure this was the smart move. So I reached out to my brother, and he was like, you're going to do what? He says, if you told Dad...
You're like a math and science guy, right?
Exactly. And he said, have you told Dad?
Yeah. Right.
And I said, no, I'm scared to.
Yeah.
So I called up my father, and I told him, I said, Dad, I'm thinking about leaving broadcasting. And he said, well, really? He said, what do you want to do? I said, I think I want to, do sports on television. Yeah. And literally my dad paused and said, you?
Right.
And I said, yeah. I said, it sounds like something I could really take hold of.
Yeah.
So regardless, I thankfully had the grades in school. I probably couldn't have gotten into Newhouse out of high school.
Right.
But because I was in a curriculum that I was comfortable with and my grade point average was very good, I could transfer right in.
Sure.
So the very next semester, my second semester of my sophomore year, I transferred into Newhouse, the #1 broadcasting school in the country. And I was way behind, so I started taking 21, 24 credits a semester and got myself an internship at the local ABC affiliate in Syracuse and worked my butt off because I really wanted to graduate on time. And remarkably, I did.
Did you know at that point that it was now a passion? Did life change for you?
The minute. I remember we had the assistant news director from the ABC affiliate come in and teach one of our classes. And I went up to him after the class and I said, I'm interested in an internship. He said, well, why don't you come by the station tonight? And I said, great. And I went in and I met the sports director and he says, all right, let's get started. I said, what do you want me to do? He said, all right, you're going to sit here in front of these 3 TVs. You're going to watch all of the games and you're going to take notes on everything that happens.
Yeah.
And I looked at him and said, this is, you make money doing this? Like they pay you to do this?
Right.
He said, yeah, that's what you're going to do tonight. And I'm like, I'm hooked.
Yeah.
So the whole night I just watched all the sports. I took notes, wrote up a script. And that night they read it on the air on the 11 o'clock news. And I floated home thinking, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do.
And you haven't worked a day since. Probably,
and
right?
here we are, hate to say it, 30 something years later.
Okay.
It's the greatest thing I ever did. It's that woman.
Yeah.
Her name is Julia. That was in that class, in that French class, that told me I needed to be a sportscaster.
Yeah.
If you're out there, Julia,
thank you, Julia.
Thank you, because you, in one sentence, changed the course of my life.
But that happens often with people.
Yeah.
You know, I think we all have certain people in our lives that enter for one reason or another. And it's about at those moments when you either really need it, the doors are open, whatever it is, and they walk through.
Yep.
And they do change your life. And all of us can reflect back on a few people in our lives that
sure.
have done that. And
There's
it,
no
and
doubt.
it may be somebody that's fleeting and
There's
you never
no
see them
doubt.
again
That
or
was like an
whatever.
angel that was put in my life for
Yeah.
that moment to change the course of my history moving forward.
Yeah,
And it's remarkable what she did by giving it that thought,
yeah.
you know.
And you were lucky to have the voice that you have because you have to have that as well, right?
Well, that was developed over time.
Oh,
When
really?
I grew up being a New Englander, I had the most shocking New England accent you could
Oh,
ever
no
imagine.
kidding. So you had to relearn
yeah.
an entire dialect.
Absolutely.
So did you go after the Midwest dialect? Isn't that what you guys do?
Well, funny, by moving around, you know, in this career early on, you know, I went from upstate New York. My senior year, I got a job as a weekend sports anchor in Watertown, New York. Then I moved to Sarasota, Florida. Then I moved to El Paso, Texas. Then I moved to Albany, New York. Then I moved to Tampa, Florida. Then I
Yeah.
moved to Los Angeles. All of these moves, you're in a different area, different dialect, and you kind of adopt a lot of that. But the most important thing is when you're new in this industry, you're putting out tapes, you're listening to yourself, you're listening and watching air checks, and you're asking other people to watch them and listen to them as well, taking advice, and you're kind of, just changing yourself in certain ways until you find who you really are and who you're comfortable being.
Well, you've done an incredible job of it. You almost perfected this craft. Obviously, 6 Emmys and 4 Golden Mics. I mean, that's incredible.
Very blessed.
Top of the heap.
Very
in
blessed.
this.
And anyone will tell you in this business, none of those awards come as an individual. Maybe you win them as an individual, but
Sure.
there are many, many people standing behind you. There are many shoulders you are standing upon as you are accepting these awards.
Yeah.
How, like, when you first started to watch yourself on film, was that hard for you to do?
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the first time anyone hears their own voice recorded or sees themselves on camera, they're shocked.
Oh, yeah.
Do I really sound like that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
my.
We just did that. It's like, whoa. Or, at least me. 'Cause this is so far out of my life, and I'm like, whoa, I sound like that?
Yeah, I
Stop
was just
talking.
telling Bill this I don't know, maybe a few years back, and I was probably 25 pounds heavier than I am now.
Really? You look great.
Came out of we hold a revenue summit every year. Came out. My daughter's filmed a TikTok where I was walking on the sidewalk, and I said, every year we come to the revenue summit and we work on great ideas, and we put it up, and it got like a measly like 10,000 views, but I was a little bit excited. I thought this is great, and then the comments come through, and they're scrolling through. Like one of the third comments was, "You need to work on losing weight," and I was crushed. I go, oh, "Fuck this! I'm never watching my stuff
Well,
again."
that's one thing in this industry, and anytime you put yourself out there, you have to have,
Thick skin.
thick skin,
Yeah.
and a strong exoskeleton,
sure.
because people will try to knock you down every step of the way.
Well, not you too much. I think you're well loved, especially in Southern California. So you've been, this is arguably the top, maybe the second largest sports market in the country.
Yeah.
And you run it. You run the Roost here. You're at Fox now for how long have you been there?
Couple of years now at Fox, and I spent a lot of time down in San Diego. That's where I was for 2 decades, and that was great. It was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, some of the sports down in San Diego dried up with the loss of the Chargers coming up here to Los Angeles. So after that happened, I knew at some point I needed to come back here to really what is the epicenter of sports in America and maybe in the world. You think of the number of sports teams we have here, and now with SoFi Stadium being in Los Angeles, the number of events that are coming here.
FIFA,
and, we've got
just
the World Cup coming in
The
4
golf's coming. The
years,
golf's
and-
coming like in 2 years.
Oh, yeah, the U.S. Open is
Yeah.
coming actually this coming year.
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
that'll
Oh,
be
it
coming
is.
in June.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
to the L.A. Country Club.
Yeah.
We were out there doing a story on that. The day after the U.S. Open ended, we went out and did a story on
did.
the L.A. Country
That's
Club.
gonna be amazing.
So you think about that, and the college football national championship, of course, the Super Bowl
You
was
had the
here
Super
last
Bowl.
year. I mean, it's on and on and on and on. So if you do sports, this is obviously the
Oh,
place
for
to be.
sure. I mean, anybody that's seen the special on the Lakers and the Lake Show and how the NBA became what it is today, will
without
know
a
that
doubt.
it started here with Magic and crew and
And don't forget about soccer. I mean, we just won
yeah, that's right.
the LA FC just won
The MLS championship,
which is incredible.
in one of the greatest MLS
Oh,
games that was ever
so
played.
good.
So yeah, it's been since I've been here. I'll tell you what. I mean, LA obviously is, like I said, the epicenter of sports. But since I've been here alone, I show up and the Rams go to the Super Bowl and win it.
Yeah.
So of course I told Sean McVay, "You're welcome."
Right, right.
I show up and suddenly
You're
boom,
one,
and
of,
then,
you're one of the good luck charms.
and then LAFC wins the MLS. So let's
Yeah.
let's keep the party going.
Lakers are coming next.
It's going to be a while.
Probably not this year, Bill, but
next year.
So do you sleep? I mean, there's an event every minute of every day.
there is. You're always busy. You're always on. I always tell people about this as a job, if you'll call it that. I
Yeah.
don't really think I have a job, but it's really a lifestyle. I mean, the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep,
Yeah.
you're constantly on because there's so much going on. So if you take a little break, in fact, being in Paris last week was difficult because I tried to unplug just for the sake of my beautiful new wife.
Yeah.
I wanted to unplug, but it's so hard because if you take any time away, when you come back, you're like, what happened? Someone catch me up. Like, what did I miss while I was gone?
Yeah, we deal with this all the time. We're actually going to have a guest on about work-life balance because at Racer, we struggle with it a ton.
Yeah.
We could work 24 hours a day.
Nonstop.
And when you have a passion for what you do and you love what you do,
Sure.
it can really become an obsession and unhealthy sometimes, right?
Yeah,
You
sure.
focus too much on it. So it's good to hear that you gave your wife some time in Paris and that
We
you
did.
enjoyed it.
We had a wonderful
and
time.
refreshed. Do you have a favorite sport?
Well, that's hard. That's a question I get all the
Yeah.
time from people. And
Don't give me the politically correct answer.
No,
Nobody's
no.
gonna say
Honestly,
this.
I mean, the thing is, I grew up playing baseball, so I love
Yeah.
that. I have such a passion for baseball. You could put me at a ballpark, and I could sit there all day long, and I could watch game after game. But I love football and the energy of that. What I really truly like is the changing of the seasons. Like as the football season concludes and you get through the Super Bowl, I start getting excited about pitchers and catchers reporting and going to spring training and going through all of that and meeting the new players on the team. And then as that baseball season goes through, and then hockey season beginning and NBA, you know, it's just it's one thing follows another. So it just never ends, which is wonderful.
Yeah, incredible. Well, we've covered off on your accomplishments as a professional, and incredible.
Yeah.
But there is a depth to your story
Mm-hmm.
of life that that changed the course of your life.
Yeah.
And put you in a coma for 6 days.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to ask you to share that
Sure.
because there is a charitable piece that we can drive out of that, and it's really an incredible story.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why don't you take us back if you can, and we'll take it down a notch, but take us back to that fateful day.
Yeah, it was the craziest day of my life. Obviously, it was February 10th, 2015, and I was in San Diego, and I was getting ready to go to work for the day. So it was afternoon, 3:00, my normal routine. Got dressed, getting in my car at my house, pulling out of my driveway, and then suddenly, as I was pulling out, I never made it into the cul-de-sac. A van came up behind my car, boxed my car in. A man got out of the car and had a large handgun. Learned later it was a 9mm handgun, and he fired 20 bullets through my car, and windows shattering. I wasn't sure what was happening. Didn't even realize at that moment that I had been struck by 6 of the bullets. Went right through me. And when I say right through me, 2 of them went through the center of my chest and out the back.
Oh my God.
One deflected off of my sternum and went right by my heart and ended up in my left hip. Bullets went through my leg, my quadricep, through my back. One took off 3/4 of my finger. Hand surgeon actually sewed my finger back on while I was in a coma.
Oh my God.
And yeah, my life should have ended at that very moment.
Were you alone?
I was.
Were you living alone at the time?
I was.
So what happened? I mean, the van drove off? Or,
Yeah.
So what happened next? I mean,
Yeah, at that moment, I'm on the ground. I had pushed my way out of the car as the bullets were flying inside. My thought was to push my way out of the car. The gunman came around and continued to shoot me while I was on the ground.
oh my God.
And then he thought I was dead, obviously, so he took off. And I'm lying there, and I pulled myself up a little bit, and again, I don't really know the extent of the damage at this point.
Sure.
It's complete chaos.
Yeah,
It's-
you're in shock.
The shock.
It's hard to explain what you're feeling in those moments, but you're disoriented. But I was alert, and I looked down at my chest, and I could see the blood pouring out of my center of my chest. So I knew it was very bad.
Ugh.
So at that moment, I reached into my back pocket, and I pulled out my phone because I thought I called 911. And I looked at my phone, and the center of my phone was shattered. A bullet had hit my phone.
Oh my goodness.
And so my phone was completely out.
So you couldn't use it.
Right.
And you're on the ground
I'm on the ground.
and bleeding out, and you.
Right.
Yeah.
And I have no phone. And craziest moment there, I remember, it's as silly as it may sound, I looked at my phone, I'm like, oh no, my phone is
Yeah, right. Yeah, if that's not a
of
sign
all
of the times.
Of all the
All
things,
the things to
right?
think about.
Yeah.
I think about like, oh, my phone.
I can't take a
now I need a new
selfie.
phone. Right. So my phone is destroyed. I found out later, and this is interesting, side note, that the battery on my phone actually
Saved you.
stopped the bullet from going all the way through.
And that could have been the one.
And that would have been the fatal blow.
The fatal-
Because you think
Unbelievable.
about, because it was shot
Would've
in
went
the
up.
back, it would have gone right through my midsection,
Yeah.
where all your vital
Hit
organs
an
are.
an
Yeah,
artery,
it
something
would have
like
been. It would
that.
have
So
been
you were hit 6 times.
6 times. Yeah. So at that moment, I looked around. I'm in a cul-de-sac, quiet neighborhood of San Diego, and I realized because it's 3:00 in the afternoon, there's nobody home. Everyone's
Yeah.
basically at work,
And you're still on the ground.
I'm waiting. Right. I've got up to my knees at this
Isn't
point.
that-
I'm on
okay.
my knees, and I'm looking around, and I don't see anybody. Like no one's coming running to my. To
And what-
my
what time again
safety.
is this? About
3:00,
3:00
3:15 now.
Yeah.
So I look over, and out of my cul-de-sac, there's a busier road. You know, it's about probably, I'm guessing, 60 yards away. There's a busier road. And I'm thinking, I need to get there
Yeah.
so somebody can see me and call 911 for me. So I started crawling, and I just crawled from my driveway to this intersection. And just as I'm getting there, I hear a car, like screeching wheels, coming up the hill. I'm kind of on a hill in the cul-de-sac. And car stops probably 20 yards away from me or so. Door opens, and a man falls out of the car, prone position with a gun, pointed up the street, and I recognize him right away. This is an off-duty police officer. His name is Scott Bartolome, works for the San Diego PD. He's a friend of mine. He lives in the neighborhood, but several blocks away. I saw him at the gym that morning. We were at the gym
Wow.
at the same time. And I left, and he said he was going to pick up his son, and I said, well, I got to go to work. I'll see you later.
You saw him at the gym?
Have a good day. Saw him at the
And
gym
then- yeah.
that day.
Yeah.
Well, come to find out, as I learned the story later, he went and picked up his son. He was in the car. They were driving home. They were getting out of the car. They had music blaring in the car. As soon as they turned the engine off, he heard gunshots. And being a police officer, he knew
Yeah.
right away. It wasn't a lawnmower backfiring. He knew, oh my God, 9mm handgun.
Yeah.
Told his son, get in the house, lock the door, don't move. He comes barreling through the neighborhood just looking, and
For
he
what's going on.
And he saw me in the street, but he came out weapon drawn.
Yeah.
And he yells out, and he said, Kyle. And I saw him. He's got this bald head of his.
Yeah.
And I said, and I couldn't talk because the bullets that went through my chest, they went through my lung, one of my lungs, and through my liver. I could not really exclaim, but the best I could, I just yelled, Scott, please help me.
Oh my God.
And he looks up and he says, Kyle, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
You know, where's the gunman? And I just said, he's gone. Help me.
Yeah.
And he came running up the street to me, cradled me in his arms, turned me over, and then just started compressing my chest with his hand to try to stop the bleeding. And he called 911. Now, obviously, this is the worst day of my life happening. But at the same time, certain things happened this day that I always say are little mini miracles that were the best things that ever happened to me. Like, for one, because it was him and a police officer that found me, this is considered a hot scene when there's an active shooter. If it was just a civilian who had found me and they called 911, the ambulance would not have been allowed to come get me
Oh, really?
because it's a hot scene. It would put them in danger. Okay, all these things I learned after the fact.
Makes sense.
Yep.
So because he was a police officer, he told them,
He could call that
the
off.
scene is clear,
Gotcha.
bring them in. And thankfully, the ambulance was only a few miles away. They got there pretty quickly. But as I'm lying there, I'm lying on my back, and he's holding me, and I'm looking up. I can't breathe.
Yeah.
I'm slowly I don't know what's going on, but I'm getting less and less breath.
You're dying.
I'm dying. And I can't, he's telling me, don't talk, just hang in there. He gives me the greatest pep talk I've ever had in my life. And he's from Falmouth, Massachusetts. And he's like, come on, Kyle, come on. You're a masshole. You know, come on. You know why you're at the gym today?
Yeah.
And all those days you've been at the gym, you know why you've been working out? For this moment, this moment right here.
He's
You're a
ready to
badass. You're going to make it. You're going to get through this.
And you remember that. You internalize it.
I remember all of this.
Pulled you through.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And I remember one other thing. I was looking up at his face, and I looked past his face, and I looked at the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And the sky was crystal blue that day. It was a blue, blue day. And I looked up at the sky, and I looked at him, and I said, Scott, look at the sky. Look. He goes, what? I said, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful today.
Yeah.
And you remember that, like those little.
I remember everything so vividly. And I said,
Yeah.
this is not the day I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And thankfully, the ambulance got there. They got me in the truck, and we started heading to La Jolla.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're on our way to the
Scripps.
La Jolla. We're on our way there, and as we're going, again, I'm losing more and more air to the point where I can't breathe.
Okay. So now you probably can't talk even.
I'm trying, but they're like, Kyle, just
Yeah.
just relax. And I'm like, I can't breathe. I'm literally going, I can't breathe, and I feel like I'm going to die any second.
And this isn't about an oxygen mask is going to help you
Nothing.
along.
No.
Your internals are just blown apart.
What's happened is because the bullets went through my lung. Apparently, what happens is the air in my chest around my lungs is it's gathering air and it's squeezing my lungs.
Yeah.
So now my lungs can't expand.
Yeah.
So the more I try to breathe in, the air around my lungs is getting bigger, and suddenly I can't breathe anymore.
Yeah.
So one of the EMTs and that's in with me, one's driving obviously, one's with me. Stephen Quintero is his name.
Mm-hmm.
Saved my life at that very moment.
Mm-hmm.
He had been trained on a procedure. It's called a needle thoracostomy, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd been trained on it months earlier. Never had been performed by anybody.
Huh.
He had never performed it.
Yep.
And he told me, he says, Kyle, he said, I need to do something. I need to take a needle and put it into your chest to relieve the pressure.
Yep.
Can I do that?
Yeah.
And I just said, yes, please.
Yeah,
And he took out this giant needle.
Yeah.
And he felt my ribs up here.
Oh, my God.
He felt between the ribs, the spot that he
Yeah,
needed to go.
yeah.
We're in a moving vehicle going very fast on the way to the hospital. He takes this needle and then all of a sudden just jams it into my chest.
Right through your bare chest.
Right through
But you've
it.
been shot.
Right.
Yeah, at that point.
I'm feeling
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like, you know when you put a needle into a basketball and
Yep.
the sound you hear? Psst.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. And all of a sudden,
You could breathe.
That's amazing.
thank you.
So you could breathe.
Yes.
You're still losing consciousness because you're losing blood.
Yes, but-
you're speeding in an ambulance
But
to the
now I
hospital.
can breathe, and I would not have made it to the hospital if
Without
he hadn't
him.
done that.
Without
And
that.
he was not supposed to do that. They are trained not to do it until the patient is unconscious. It's the absolute last option
But
you go
he
to.
knew. He
But
saw you.
He
Yeah.
saw it, and he said, "Screw it.
Right.
I'm going against protocol here." He may have been disciplined for that later.
Yeah.
But I told them, I said, that guy saved my life. And by the way, all of the people I'm telling
Everything.
you about, I've
Yeah.
met with all of them many, many times
Oh, I'm
now
sure.
in my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And
part of
hugged
you.
and cried and all of that.
Yeah.
So, guys, if you're out there listening, Scott, Steve, I'm thinking of you right now. I love you so much. He saved my life. We got to the hospital, got into the trauma area. They prepped me for surgery.
Yeah.
That's when I went into surgery. And I can get in a lot more detail with all of that as well. But I don't know
Yeah.
how deep you guys want me to get. But
No.
I got there, and thankfully I'm still here today.
Yeah, thank God. So a lot of blessings, a lot of miracles in the tragedy for sure.
Amazing that
And a lot
day.
of things.
All these angels were put in my life, one after another, that enabled me. There's no way I should be here talking
No.
to two of you right now.
Well, and I think earlier today I told my daughter that you were to come in here, and I showed her who you are, and I showed her the video, and she was like blown away by it. And so your story has affected so many others as well,
Yeah.
in such a positive way too. Because I think when you go through something like that, it makes you think of like how lucky we are just to be here today,
Without a doubt.
without being like, oh, I don't have enough money or whatever it may be. It's like the simple things.
Yeah,
So-
it can change like that.
It's amazing when you're lying there. When I came out of a coma and I was lying in the hospital room, 3, 4 in the morning. All you hear is the sound of yourself breathing. You hear the EKG, your heart beating. Everything else goes away in your life.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't think about anything else. You're not thinking about the problems. You're not thinking about your frustrations. You're not thinking about who did you wrong, earlier today. You're not thinking about what. All you're thinking about is I'm alive right now. I'm breathing. My heart is beating. I'm still here. And when you're reduced to that level, in some ways it's liberating because you realize like that's all that matters really in life, And so at that moment too, as I started getting better, all of these people we're talking about, and my surgeon, Dr. Fadi Nasrallah, who did 3 surgeries on me and, had multiple blood transfusions and all that, and learning about how all of the people that donated blood, I needed 14 units of blood.
How much is that?
14. That's more than your body.
More than your body.
Yeah.
So you had essentially had
Multiple
14 blood transfusions.
Over and over again, they had to continue to give me units of blood. And every time they went to the shelf, the blood was there, thankfully.
Yeah.
What blood type are you?
I'm B positive, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah. Be positive. I love it.
100%.
Well, you've turned tragedy into a really good thing.
Yeah.
Connecting what you went through with what we need to shine a light on, which is that there is blood that is needed in this country
Always.
on a daily basis. Every 8 minutes, American Red Cross, who you support, says that there is somebody that's needing a blood transfusion. And that's for people that are not having a traumatic event like you only.
Right.
It's also for people that are, afflicted with something, a disease, whatever, where they need continual blood
Always.
transfusions.
I've
right?
met so many people, Rob, through this, through my cause of trying to encourage and inspire people to give blood. Remember, blood is not something like you can build the most beautiful hospitals and you can train the greatest staff and have surgeons and nurses and doctors and spend millions and billions of dollars, but you can't buy blood.
Yeah.
Okay. That's something we need people to go out and donate. And we're always short. And especially going through the pandemic, going through COVID, all of those blood drives suddenly went away. Okay,
Yeah,
because you couldn't gather
I didn't even think
in
about
a
that.
church basement. You couldn't gather at an auditorium. You couldn't, so all of this went away. And so that's what I took on the cause because of all the people that helped me and all the blood donations. And I do it in honor of all the first responders. And I do it in honor of those EMTs and the police and the fire and the people that help us every day and don't get recognized. So that's why I called it the Celebration of Heroes blood drive that I do every single year now. And during COVID, I did one every 3 months. We did blood drives to try to maintain, and replenish.
And this is
what we
through
have.
American Red Cross.
Through American Red Cross is very important to me because they are the ones that supplied the blood that I had when I was hurt. Not only that, but I was always inspired by my dad. My dad passed away a couple years ago, and my dad served in the Air Force. And he told me the first time he ever gave blood, it was right out there on the field. He was in the Korean War. And when someone went down, they would come up to you and they'd say, roll up your sleeve. We need blood right there.
Right.
And it was the American Red Cross. So he got into the habit as a young man. I mean, he was 20 years old at the time. He got into the habit of donating blood. And he kept doing it. And over, every time you've donated a gallon, which is 8 units, they give you a pin, the American Red Cross. And my dad was always so proud throughout my lifetime. Hey, Kyle, check it out. I just got my 5-gallon pin.
Yeah.
I'm like, Dad, that's amazing. And he kept going and he kept going. And he got 10 gallons, 11 gallons, 12 gallons, 13 gallons. He kept going until he was in his 80s. He was still donating blood. And he was up to 14 gallons and 7 units. And he wanted that 15-gallon pin. And then they put him on blood thinners. And they said, you cannot donate blood anymore. So he would always, when you would ask him, my dad's name was Walter Kraska. He said, Walter, how many units of blood have you donated in your lifetime? And he would say, 14 gallons. Well, actually, 1 pint shy of 15 gallons.
Yeah.
He was always upset that he was 1 unit shy of 15 gallons. So one time when I went to go donate at my own blood drive, I went to the Red Cross and I said, listen, I'm B positive. My dad is B positive. I said, can I donate? And can you please credit him for
On his behalf.
unit on his behalf? Yeah. And they said, yes, we will do that.
Okay.
So I'm getting choked up thinking about
That's
this.
awesome.
So I donated blood, and they sent me the 15-gallon pin, and I flew from here to Massachusetts to be with my dad. on Father's Day, and this is right before he died. And I gave him the bag, and he opened it, and he started crying. He saw his 15-gallon pin, and he got it.
That's
and it was one of the great moments of my life to do that.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you're here for a reason.
Yeah.
You've embraced that reason. You've shared your story. It's incredible. You're accomplished professionally, but this is the stuff that matters. As part of Let's Make Millions, it's not about making money always. It's we give to, and we have a facet called Let's Give Millions, and we always make a donation to the charity of our guest's behalf. But this time we're going to do a little something different. We're going to give more than money. We're going to give blood. And so we're going to hold a blood drive here at Canilla
awesome.
Media and Let's Make Millions. We're going to try and get our entire building. We're at 12100 Wilshire, and it's a big building here in Santa Monica. We're going to try and get as many people as we can to come together.
Awesome.
And cater in some food, give away some food as an incentive maybe. And
Yeah, and I also think that we can call on some of our media partners in LA, and maybe we can get them to make a long form infomercial on this and get more drive going through. So we'll get a little more creative on this, and we're gonna do some more teeping here. But I'm sure we can do
see
this.
what we can do to help your cause. It's a great one, American Red Cross, but you don't need to wait. If you have any inclination, go give blood today. Every 8 minutes there's somebody in need. Kyle was the benefactor not only of these angels in his life, these miracle moments, but also the American Red Cross that supplied that blood that is one of the reasons that you're here today.
Yeah. Well, I can't thank you guys enough for doing that. And I encourage people, if you've never given blood before, it's really a special moment. And if you go give blood, I encourage you to think about what you're doing. You're putting yourself there, you're lying on this bed, they put a needle in your arm, and it just takes a few minutes, and you give a unit of blood. But that blood can literally save 3 people's lives, because they break down that blood into different components, okay? You have red blood cells and plasma and all that. And these are people that desperately need blood. Your blood could end up in someone and save their life.
Yeah, that's
Those
incredible.
14 people that gave blood, they didn't know it was going to end up in me.
Yeah.
But if they had not taken that moment, if they not just taken a few moments out of their life to go and donate, I would not be still here. I wish I knew who those 14 were, because you have to understand how important they are in my life.
Yeah.
Their blood is in me.
Yeah.
So by doing that, I'm just giving blood, no big deal. No, it's a really big deal what you're doing. And if you think of that, when you give blood, you will walk out that door so proud and so happy. You've done one of the most selfless things you can do. You're saving lives. Just think about that.
How many times a year can you give blood? Is there
You can give blood every 8 weeks.
every 8
8
weeks?
Okay.
Yeah. So if every 56 days. So how about this? If you give blood right now, then you can give blood again at the blood drive that you guys hold right here.
Yeah.
So and by the way, there are benefits to giving blood for you. First of all, you get a little mini health check. You show up, they take your blood pressure, they take your blood, they screen your blood, and if there's anything in there that maybe should cause some concern, then you'll know it. They'll notify you and say, hey, you may want to have this checked out.
that's a
So
good
you're
point.
getting a free
Check.
Checkup.
medical check. So that's a great thing. And it helps replenish your blood. There's so many great benefits to it. There's no reason not to. Now, there are some people that just simply cannot, for whatever reason.
Go near a needle.
You
Yeah,
can't, you
whatever
just
it
can't do it. Totally understand. But if you can, and if you've never done it, and I'll tell you, one of the proudest things for me, as far as the blood drives we've done, and I can't even tell you how many we've done now, is that there are so many people. I've had people in their 60s and 70s say, I've wanted to give blood my whole life. I just didn't take the time to do it. You inspired me to do it. And oh my God, now I do it every 8 weeks.
Sure.
And I have people that send me text, photographs. Hey, I'm at the Red Cross. I'm donating blood. Look at me. They send me pictures of themselves giving blood. Hey, thanks to you. I just joined the Gallon Club.
Yeah.
Thanks to you.
Oh, that's great.
And for me, that warms my heart to hear that.
Yeah.
To try to inspire people. And it becomes, exponential. If people keep giving blood and then they tell people and they give blood and they share the story like you did, Bill, with your daughter.
Yep.
That's what it's all about. Let's
Yeah.
just keep on spreading the word. Let's get it
love
out
it.
there.
And you've done an incredible job of that. You've also you held one of the largest blood drives, single-day blood drives in
That's right.
Southern California.
In
LA.
California, the
Really?
largest, Red Cross's largest single-day blood drive in California.
Wow.
And I just want to keep it growing.
I don't know if we can beat it, but we're sure as hell going to try.
Why not?
And
I'll be there. You tell me when that is.
Okay.
And I will
For
be
sure.
there.
Love
As I
it.
tell people, you show up at one of my blood drives, I'm going to be there personally to thank you for being there that day.
Well, thank you, Kyle, for sharing your story with us today. And congratulations on your marriage and Samina and everything you have going great in your life right now. It's good to see you. And you're a good man. You're doing good work. We appreciate you coming by.
Rob, Bill, you guys are great. Thanks for having me today.